Hey guys, welcome to the Athfix. Today we are going to discuss about the Python. Well, Python is a language which is used for AI, machine learning, deep learning, and in many of the web technologies. Therefore, it's termed as a language of the future. Yeah, you might have heard about the Iron Dome of the Israel, which had destroyed many of the missiles which are heading towards the Israel in the air only. It's a air defense mechanism which uses the machine learning, which is also came from the Python. Therefore, Python is also termed as a create and automative universe language because you can able to create machine learning AI, and this Python has an essential use in many of the technologies which we have built today and the futuristic technology which we are going to build in the future. First of all, we are coming to the Python. What is the Python? Python is a programming language that plays a major role in almost all of the technology which exist in today's digital world. You might have heard about the mechatronics or the robotics or the AI, machine learning, and many of the advanced web technology which are emerging today are developed with the Python. In fact, the YouTube, Spotify, many of the apps which are using today uses this Python for the purpose of machine learning to give a better data to the users. Python was developed by Gerda on Rossum in 1989, and for at that amount of time it is just a language which is used in the schools to teach how to program, but it become an futuristic in upcoming recent years. Its main application is in the field of web development, big data, AI, machine learning, and the game development. It is used a lot in the game development, and it has a main purpose in AI and machine learning, because of which Python is mostly used. Next, coming to the Python in the corporates. Many of the corporates use the Python, and uh, you know the most advanced corporates are mentioned here. In fact, the Intel, IBM, NASA, Spotify, Netflix, and Facebook uses this technology. In the Intel, it uses that technology in the chip manufacturing, because Intel is and microchip manufacturers. Therefore, they use the Python. When we talk about IBM has a lot of things. It has its own cloud. It has its many of the computers which are developed through IBM, and the futuristic computers which are coming, which are related to AI, are done through the IBM. In fact, NASA uses that technology in the space craft designing, and many of the space program it uses the Python. Spotify absolutely for the machine learning, to feed a good amount of music data to the user. It uses the machine learning, and in fact, in the Netflix, it uses your data, and the Python creates a machine learning algorithm in which it takes up the data, it learns from the data, and feeds up a good movies and good web series to your interface. And Facebook, Facebook is having a huge demand using the Python. It created a lot of things, and in fact, Google's YouTube, Pinterest, Reddit, Instagram uses the Python for the purpose of big data and the machine learning. How Netflix uses the Python? Because Netflix is a big corporate which has started in the 2008 and become a big corporate, serving many of the movies and web series, and most demanded web series platform in the whole world. What all thing it creates using the Python? First of all, Open Connect. It connects multiple web series into a link, so that whenever a person uses one web series, he is recommended with another. Demand engineering means whatever the user demands, it is served to him. The machine learning, in which it uses a technique or the algorithm to serve the better things to the user. Big data, in which it fetches the data of the user, and it learns from that data. And a video encoding, to serve better video quality, you need to have a better video encoding. That is also done with a Python. And information security, absolutely, because you are paying it, and paying for that web series 249 per month, and for that purpose, because it is e-commerce, your data is to be safe. because you are paying it through the credit or debit or anything which is related to e-commerce purpose. To make your account safe, it is an important, therefore it uses the information security using the Python. Next thing, there are two things, IDE and the compiler. Compiler is a software which compiles your language. Compiles means whatever code you are writing on the computer, it's converted into machine learning, means machine language. Machine language is in format of 100100100, because your computer doesn't know any languages. It only takes up the electricity in the format of high and low. High means 1, low means 0, and it feeds into the CPU, and CPU calculates and it gives the output, and this output is converted into a language which is a programmer readable, and what we call as output of a program. And compiler does the same thing. It just take up the language which you have written, and it computes that, and it will give you the output. But IDE is the thing. It is IDE full form is integrated development environment. Integrated development environment in which we create the application. Yes, we create the applications like websites and the softwares, and many of the things like apps, Android apps, Swift apps, iOS. We create these all things using the IDE. Compiler is a very small thing. IDE contains a lot of files, a lot of compilers which are related to Python or anything for the purpose of computation and to create perfect software. Therefore, we use IDE. IDE is meant for software, compiler is meant for compiling the language. And there are a lot of IDEs which are preferred for the Python. First one is Atom. Well, Atom is software which is recommended, but not high, because Atom has some of the features which you have to pay for that. And we have next the PyCharm. PyCharm is the most recommended IDE for the Python compilation, because it is built with everything. You don't need to install anything, you just have to install the PyCharm, and you need to write the code and it will execute. But it is only meant for the Python and Python related software products. Means if you're going to create anything related to the Python, in the website we use a Django framework for creating backend of a website. For such thing you can use the PyCharm, but you cannot use the JavaScript or the Java for this purpose. Therefore, PyCharm is only recommended for the Python. Jupyter is notebook type. Jupyter Notebook is a software in which you can able to compile the things, and many of the advanced machine learning projects are done through the Jupyter Notebook. At last, we have the VS Code. I recommend you to go through the VS Code, because using the VS Code, not only you can able to create the application which are related to the Python, but you can able to create the applications which are also related to the JavaScript, through which you can able to build the website. Also using the Java, through which you can able to build the Android applications. Also using Python, you can able to build the software which are related to AI and machine learning. And using the React, Flutter, you can able to create the applications which are served with all of the iOS, Android, and any desktop version. You can able to use the softwares in every cross platform, irrespective of the language which are written. These all are constructed using VS Code. VS Code is not particular for particular language. You can able to use any of the language to build the softwares. And in fact, whenever you are using the VS Code, because it is meant for many of the languages, you need to install the Python. Yes, Python is a compiler which is which you have to install in your computer if you are using the VS Code, and VS Code uses that compiler to perform the task of building Python related softwares. Therefore, VS Code is somehow complicated, but if you want to learn many of the technologies which are related to website, which are related to Android, and I recommend you to go through the VS Code, because VS Code gives you a lot of things.